Compliance with international humanitarian law during a full-scale Russian war. To do this, the Ministry of Reintegration has initiated a draft law on the application and observance of the norms of international humanitarian law in Ukraine. According to Deputy Prime Minister, Minister of Reintegration of Temporarily Occupied Territories of Ukraine, Irina Vereshchuk, it will allow the creation of new institutions for monitoring compliance with international humanitarian law on the territory of Ukraine, at a time when Russia violates it in every possible way.
This is the impotence of the strong one when it would seem that international humanitarian law, the UN, the International Committee of the Red Cross and the rest would react somehow. All of them are powerlessly watching how people, women, children, civilians are killed, how they are simply refused, they are officially refused to open the corridor for them. And even if the corridor is open, then this is only an agreement between the two parties, and the international institution plays the role of only an observer here. That is, there is no responsibility.
The draft law provides for the introduction of the institution of the Commissioner for the application of international humanitarian law as an official of the executive branch of government. It will be responsible for the implementation of Ukraine's international legal obligations in the area of international humanitarian law, in particular to monitor the observance of the rights of persons with the status of prisoners of war.
This will be the first bill that will at least define the legal framework, will really be infrastructural. At least we will understand who is doing what at the national level. And most importantly, our international partners will support us in this. They say that we have every right to lead it.
The new position of the Commissioner for International Humanitarian Law will not duplicate the functions of the Ombudsman for Human Rights, who is already operating in Ukraine. The Commissioner of the Verkhovna Rada for Human Rights is a body of parliamentary control. We are talking here about what we want in the context of an armed conflict, when the task of protecting people's rights becomes much greater due to the war. This is a question of prisoners of war, combatants, civilian population during Russian occupation, the bodies of the killed, and this work is the executive branch of government, should be headed by a person who will really be professionally trained and will really have the authority to do so. The draft law was written taking into account the experience of all world armed conflicts, but right now, during a full-scale invasion of the territory of Ukraine, Russia uses all types of modern and prohibited weapons, Alexander Bakumov says, and these facts will be to supplement the protocols of the already existing Hague and Geneva Conventions of warfare and the end of the war. A doctrine is now being formed in Ukraine, that is, a new scientific doctrine on international humanitarian law, as well as the practice of international humanitarian law. I think that we will definitely be witnesses of the protocols, additional protocols, to the conventions of the Kiev Protocols, which will regulate the rules, customs, conduct of war, behavior with prisoners of war, exchange of them, because to the greatest regret, these are the practical elements of warfare that we've seen here on the territory of our state. In addition, it is planned to create a temporary special commission that will monitor the observance of international humanitarian law in Ukraine. Its task is to study the issues of observance of rights and freedoms in war conditions, as well as to take care of the return of Ukrainian prisoners of war. Now the bill is being considered by relevant committees, then it will be submitted to Parliament. Reported by Pavel Stelmach, Natalia Belokudrya, UATV News.